This is a case study presentation on the country of Israel by Michael Rash. These two images showcase the geography of Israel. Israel is located in the Middle East. It is a very small country that shares borders with many different countries, such as Egypt, Jordan, Syria, and Lebanon. This graphic over here shows Israel's location relative to the rest of the world. This is important because a lot of people don't really know where it is. It's a really small country that it can easily be overlooked. So that's where it is. Some major events of Israel's history. In 1917, Britain seizes Palestine from the Ottoman Empire. Now, Israel wasn't always Israel. It now resides in an area that used to be known as Palestine, and that was a part of the Ottoman Empire, which was a Muslim empire. That'll be important to know for later. In the 1940s, the Nazi Holocaust caused mass Jewish migration to Palestine, which angered a lot of the Muslims that were already present in that area because that was their land. They didn't really feel like sharing it, and they just didn't get along very well. In 1947, the United Nations recommends partition of Palestine into separate Jewish and Arab states. Since the Jews and the Arabs weren't getting along very well, they just decided to split the nation into two, so separate them. In 1948, Israel declares independence. In 1987, the first Intifada uprising occurs, which is basically the Arabs that were inside of Israel were fed up and they revolted against their rule. They wanted their land back. It was a struggle for independence. In 2008, Israel invades Gaza, and I will go into that a little bit more in the next slide. The Arab-Israeli conflict. Like I said earlier, Israel wasn't always Israel, and it resides in a region that used to be part of the Ottoman Empire, so it was a completely Muslim region. So the problem began when European Jews that were escaping prosecution migrated to this mostly Muslim region. Mainly because in 1917 the British government stated its support for a Jewish homeland in Palestine. So obviously this is going to confuse a lot of the Arabs that already resided in this area. They didn't understand why some of their land was being considered as a Jewish homeland. It was their homeland. They didn't understand why they had to share it. In 1936, the Palestinians revolted against the British government in protest of Jewish immigration to the region. The British government was issuing visas and passports and were just putting Jews that were fleeing the area into Israel in an attempt to establish a Jewish homeland in Palestine. So that obviously angered the Palestinians, and so they revolted against the British government. In 1947, the UN split Western Palestine into two, one side for the Jews and the other for the Arabs. This graphic right here shows the before and after effects of the Six-Day War. This was a brief war that took place in 1967. It really just shows land that Israel was able to gain because of this war. You can see over here, all of this right here was Jordanian controlled. Gaza was Egyptian controlled. And so after the war, Israel had gained the Sinai Peninsula, the Gaza, and this area right here, Old City of Jerusalem, and even Golan Heights all the way up here. The Israeli system of government is based on parliamentary democracy. The Prime Minister of Israel is the head of government and leader of the multi-party system. Executive power is exercised by the government. Legislative power is vested in the Knesset, and the judiciary branch is independent of the executive and legislative branch. The President of Israel is largely a ceremony rule, and it's not considered a part of any government branch. Their roles includes signing laws and treaties and appointing the prime minister, confirming and endorsing ambassadors, and really stuff like that. The current leadership in Israel, the sitting president is President Rivlin. The prime minister is Netanyahu, and the speaker of the Knesset is Edelstein. One thing that I think you should take away from this presentation and Israel itself is that it has been involved in some kind of conflict since its establishment in 1948. And this is mainly because of the Arab-Israeli conflict that I discussed earlier. The Palestinians disagreeing on their cut of the land, disagreeing on Israeli rule. And so, yeah, that's the main reason that Israel has been involved in some kind of conflict for pretty much its entire existence. In regards to predictability, Israel is most like Britain or Great Britain. This is mainly due to the fact that Great Britain, from the beginning, endorsed Israel's claim to their land, and so they're obviously going to contain a lot of Britain influence in their government structure. This concludes my presentation for Israel.